The Cheating Death podcast contains language, content, and subject matter that may not be appropriate for all viewers. Listener discretion is advised. Guten Tag, everyone. This is your host, the one, the only, the Cleric of Chaos. And welcome to today's debut episode of the Cheating Death podcast. We are a podcast all about life, music, art, food, geopolitical affairs, stupid behavior, and infinitely more. To keep up to date with what's coming up, be sure to follow our Twitter and our YouTube at We All Cheat Death. This podcast is not for the faint-hearted and is not for the individual or group in whom only has a horse blinder tunnel vision approach to life. It is imperative that you are informed as well as educated and entertained. Stay tuned. We are getting right in to today's episode. In today's debut episode, we are going to be taking a glimpse into the looking window of the current state of what is now known as the mental health pandemic. Yes, it is about time that we as a species, as a society, especially in Western culture, start to take a little bit of a diverse look into the overall situation that we find ourselves in on a day-to-day basis. This particular program is going to be based on experiences, information, researched material of approximately half a dozen individuals. Their names will not be displayed, they will not be mentioned, and all official mental health, public health, physical health, provincial, federal, state, and international records will not be available for viewing or for consumption. If you live in North America today, you may find your journey being a little bit convoluted, a little bit bewildering, to say the least. For example, if you live in the great province of Ontario, Canada, and if you live in Toronto, Ontario, you may be finding yourself a little bit confused as to how to navigate the seemingly inescapable labyrinth that is our current mental health system. Well, you're not alone. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of people like you who are listening to this program right now who may or may not be looking for an answer, a solution, or you may just be looking for a calm voice in a cataclysmic time. So let's start at the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at this from the very beginning of our journey. A good 5-10 years in your adult life, you have had ongoing systemic issues since childhood. You were diagnosed with major depressive disorder or clinical depression, and you were diagnosed either generalized anxiety disorder or severe anxiety disorder, borderline personality disorder, or bipolar disorder. Any one of these particular conditions on their own can be physiologically and psychoactively melting, enduring, exhausting, and especially those with schizoaffective tendencies and traits, you may be looking for answers in places that may not have them. You may be asking yourself, how is it that I start to look within myself, figure out what I have, and get some help? Well, let us tell you this. The following information will be provided for the individual in whom may be residing in Canada, maybe between the ages of 18 through 65, and may be operating under no government health insurance outside of the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, and may not have a corporate or group insurance plan in which to fall back on for medications, treatments, and so on. We start at the beginning. You are starting to realize that your physical resources for coping with the emotions that you deal with and the symptoms as a result of said emotions have erased themselves. They are no more. You cannot stand on the weight of your own 2 feet without being completely ridden with despair. You are not alone. You may be wondering what your next step is. It is quite clear that you are having an episode of some type, and you are not able to put your thoughts or feelings into words. Your first step, do not call 911, do not call the police emergency or non-emergency numbers. They will not be able to provide you with the best assistance possible. Your first step will be to either text 988 or call 988 from your cellular device or from your nearest payphone. If you are unable to find a payphone, by all means, it is also important to understand during this time that if you are not medicated and you do not have an understanding as to the symptoms, feelings, physiological situations that you are dealing with at the time, to advise your teleprofessional nurse of the exact nature of your predicament. If you are in Toronto, Ontario, it is more than likely that you will be provided with information to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. This is a giant publicly funded facility that rests on 1025 Queen Street West in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and 1051 Queen Street West, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. They are open. While you are in the middle of trying to configure exactly what it is you're feeling, where it is that you are going to go, you may have reached out to the distress center. You may have reached out to CAMH by this time. You're feeling a little better. You're feeling a little bit more relieved in the sense that you have been able to connect to someone on the phone that may be able to empathize with your situation and may be able to relate to the struggles that you are currently experiencing. Your next step, depending on the severity of the situation, would be to follow up with your general practitioner, advise them of your current state of medical affairs. That is a family doctor. If you do not have a family doctor, you're not alone. By all means, there is absolutely no shame in going to a walk-in clinic, developing a relationship with that walk-in clinic doctor and staff, as they are able to provide you with referrals. They are able to provide you with X-ray information, MRI information, and all the same information that a general practitioner family doctor can. They just have a lot more of a rotating set of clients to deal with, as most walk-in clinics do. The benefit to having a walk-in clinic that you are fairly familiar with, and they are fairly familiar with you, is that most walk-in clinics, the Center for Addiction and Mental Health walk-in clinic included, have excellent and diligent pharmacies that are staffed by experienced professionals who will take your cares into the utmost need. As we get to the bottom of what we are dealing with mentally and how we are going to choose the path or the road that leads us down the way to recovery, it is pivotal to understand two things. One, any mental health situation, whether it be a crisis or a prolonged period of mental health care, it may or may not feel like a roller coaster. You may or may not feel up, and then the next moment you may feel down. It is imperative for you to recognize when you are in a state of mania or you are in a state of depression, if you are capable of doing so. What will assist you is writing it down, channeling it, cataloging it, itemizing it. Doesn't have to be anything long. You do not have to write yourself a soliloquy or a sonnet. Write down a couple of bullet forms. See exactly how it is day to day that you are changing, that you are trying to work through your pain. Now, we have very, very lightly touched on the point of how are we going to get help? What is it that we need? Definitely psychiatric care would be your utmost important, first and foremost attention. However, if in the event that you do suffer from a debilitating psychiatric condition, as per your family doctor or as per your psychiatric professional, whether it be a consistent psychiatrist or whether it be a team of rotating psychiatrists, the condition, the disorder that you may have could be the difference between debilitating or a decent existence, with the assistance of medication and a rightful routine. Waking up at certain times, making sure you eat breakfast or lunch, ensuring that you have consistency and routine. These are all things that will assist you greatly on the way. Additionally, pertaining to the debilitating aspect of some psychiatric illnesses, you may find yourself having to go down the road of the Ontario Disability Support Program, a labyrinth in and of itself, and will be the basis of the majority of your communications with a lot of psychiatric facilities, in addition to resources that are provided by the government of Ontario if they deem that your condition is debilitating enough. You are encouraged to apply. Now, in the year of our Lord, 2025, it appears everything is online. So, to walk you through the steps, it's very, very, very streamlined, very simple, and you can pause this podcast and slow it down if need be. If you are applying for ODSP, the first time you will need a couple of things. You will require a medical verification from your family doctor. If you have been admitted to a Center for Addiction and Mental Health inpatient stay, you will fall under a prescribed class under the Ontario Disability Support Program, and therefore will reduce the amount of time and appraisal that the application process will take. That said, if you have not been admitted to a CAMH facility, but you do have a prescribed psychiatric illness, take the verification of disability form from the Ontario website under the Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program page. Print it off. It's about 3 or 4 pages. Take it to your doctor. Have them fill it out. They will bill ODSP for it, so please don't worry about any payment required from you. You should not be required or asked to make any payment, nor should you be asked for payment for any of these forms to be filled out. The next step after you fill out those forms is to go online to www.mybenefits.ca. It will redirect you to the official government website, which is paraphrasing mybenefits.gov.on.ca. Not 100% sure on that, as the computer seems to be redirecting here, but give it a try. Just Google My Benefits and it'll get you right there. And as you fill out the required information, it will ask you for verification of your income for the past 6 months. It will ask for verification of your current rental situation. It will ask you for a complete list of all of your assets and an itinerary of anything and everything that you could have that you could sell before obtaining ODSP. If you don't have any of that, no worries. Just keep following the prompts online through as it is. Provide them the information that is requested. It is very, very streamlined. And as you go through each page, as you go through each section, it will require you to provide them with information in the event that the forms or documents or supporting information that you have may not necessarily cover everything that you want to say. As you are uploading all of your medical documents and all of your supporting criteria, simply type in any additional field, any information that you feel may be a reasonable addition to the application. After you go through the My Benefits portal and after you submit your application for ODSP, assuming you submit it for the Ontario Disability Support Program alone and not the Ontario Works Program, you will hear back within 120 days. Yes, that is 4 months, but they will review, they will analyze, and they will provide you with information if in the event they need to get a hold of you. For specific purposes of being able to get a hold of somebody quicker, our advice to the listener is to apply for both Ontario Works and ODSP simultaneously, as our sample size when we were conducting the survey research for this particular episode indicated that approximately 70% of people got back faster from the caseworkers at the ODSP office if they applied with ODW attached at the same time. Now, you may be wondering, after you go through all of that, after you go through the very lengthy process of identifying specifically what your mental health issues, situational circumstances, current areas of opportunity are, by all means, you are in a position that is not new to you, but is something that is going to take you down a path of exploration and understanding, the likes of which most people not brave enough to do what you have done will never see. Mental health, as a nutshell, is a very, very difficult and arduous topic to discuss for most people, whether it be families, whether it be corporations, whether it be people, friends, just walking up and down the street having themselves a good old coffee. It isn't the easiest topic to discuss, and you are not alone if you feel sad, desperate, alone, deteriorating, completely mentally exhausted. Our societal framework as it stands, you're probably getting bombarded with advertisement day in and day out and day in and day out. Constant phone calls, constant emails from places that you don't know about being to in years from the recent time that you last recall having your excellent salted caramel mocha frap. But that was 3 years ago, yet it feels like 6 months ago. You're not alone. And more importantly, as life goes on, we need to understand that looking inside of our minds, it is not weakness to take our own approach to being able to fix ourselves. It is not cowardice to look oneself in the mirror and realize, hey, this particular situation we're all finding ourselves in, not really the best, is it? No. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to move forward. We're going to continue to learn, and we're going to try our best to understand exactly what it is that we are dealing with, and we are going to do what we need to do to get back to who we want to be. Nothing else. This particular 20-minute discussion and explanation of one small example of how a Torontonian or an individual within the Ontario healthcare system would be able to seek assistance for medical and mental help is only one of a billion potential opportunities, ideas, roads, frameworks, highways, paths, choices, trails, parks. It really is up to you how you choose to move forward and how you choose to tackle your mental health. You are not a burden by getting this taken care of. Reach out to those around you. If you have family, give your mom a call, give your dad a call, give your sister, give your brother, give your cat a call. If you are in a relationship and both of you are at the level where you feel comfortable sitting down and talking about how each of you feel, by all means, take your sweetheart, take your gorgeous, take your loved one choice of the millennium in your mind and have a heart-to-heart conversation. Sit down with them. Be forthright with them. Tell them you're not okay. And you know what? Say to yourself, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And that's okay. Because I will say, one day, somehow, some way. Remember, you alone will find the light, however that looks, as long as you are resilient enough, as long as you believe. And of course, speaking about Toronto, moving on to our obligatory sports mention of the week, the New York Yankees are now down 2-0 to the Toronto Blue Jays in the Major League Baseball American League Division Series Championship. This is after a brutal weekend to where on Saturday the Toronto Blue Jays trounced the New York Yankees and again did so on Sunday at a score of 13-7. Now, some people may be wondering exactly what the scope of the World Series is going to look like. Well, with only 8 teams remaining and the National League Championship Series not exactly shaping up to be too easily explainable, it's fairly likely we're going to see a good old battle of East and West in the American League Championship Finals. Good old Seattle Mariners facing off against the Toronto Blue Jays. But I hear you say, The Yankees aren't out yet. No, absolutely not. They're not even remotely close to done. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely okay. It's all right. It's completely acceptable to feel this way, especially after you dug your heels in real good and started yelling at the good old Boston fans that y'all used to be all good with, right up until it was time for David Ortiz to retire, and then all of you started hating Boston again. But it's okay, because as the time goes on and as the next game takes place tomorrow at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, straight from New York City, the answer will be pretty clear going forward as to who is shaping up to be facing off in the World Series. Who are you rooting for? Is your team still in contention, or were they left by the wayside? By all means, it's shaping up to be a very interesting state of affairs, and let's see what we have coming next when it comes to the following games this week. And as we move on to our next topic of discussion, it looks like one of our staff has just handed me a note here. In late-breaking Canada news, Tim Hortons has just officially announced that they are increasing the price of brewed coffee by 1.5%, in a move that is most assuredly going to anger Canadians everywhere, especially those south of the Beaver border. We're going to want to keep a very, very good, strong look at this news as updates come out. Thanks a lot, staff. Really much appreciated on this note. Wow. You would think that a company like Tim Hortons would never do such a blasphemous thing to their beautiful clientele. Oh, we are in such a sorry, shameful, sorrowful state of affairs. If this is what we are looking at, no longer does a medium coffee cost $1.83. No, it costs $1.90 plus tax. Oh, we must go and address this at the Capitol on the federal level. It must be handled very quickly. Otherwise, we will never be caffeinated again. And as Canadians, we must not take that for an answer. Or I would assume that's what most Canadians feel. How should I know? I'm German and Canadian, so I'm really only able to say a little bit and leave the rest for you to fill in, dear Canada. And in political news, turns out you guys aren't very happy with the Liberals either. What do you expect? This isn't just going to be a coffee chat? Absolutely not. No, you got, fool. Why? Because now we are in a political state of affairs that no one saw coming, especially those who are between the ages of 18 through 40, because they don't even know what the House of Commons is anyway. Let's take a moment and breathe, Canadians. Let's understand that a lot of the choices that the federal government and provincial government have made over the course of the past 15 to 20 years are because you have let them. A lot of the complaints that you have as it pertains to immigration, a lot of the complaints that you have as it pertains to inflation, a lot of the complaints that you have as it pertains to corporate tax, the work at home schedule, the refusal to go back to the office for a minimum of 3 days a week, these are all things that could have been very easily avoided had you have done your research, had you have looked at things in a broader stroke other than seeing what you look at on Reddit and taking it as gospel and going about your day assuming that everything's going to be just fine. Because Canadians, everything's not just fine. At the federal and at the provincial level, we are facing homelessness and we are facing poverty that this country has never seen before. We are a country that is 158 years old as of this year. And what is left? People losing their jobs, not having backups to go to. No significant gains in provincial healthcare. No significant gains in federal healthcare. The allies that keep you listening to the same nonsense you hear on the radio on a provincial level do not have your best interests at heart. Oh yes, you thought this was just going to be griping about the increase in coffee prices? Heck no, my friends. Heck no. For here we stand vigilant and we put out our own net. We look and understand, and we are not afraid to speak what needs to be stated. On a municipal level, if you take into consideration every other province outside of Ontario, there has been very little growth and very little expansion as it pertains to not only infrastructure, but also healthcare, and also as it pertains to the living cost, whether it be as a rental or whether it be your good old friend mortgage. Buying homes is becoming more and more impossible for those under the age of 40, and getting yourself into a position to where you are going to be in a career for a good 35, 40 years has become a fever pitch that went the wayside in the year 1999. Dear Canadians, you need to wake up. You need to go to Queen's Park and you need to make your voices heard. You need to go to the House of Commons. You need to write your congressman. I say that sarcastically because we have MPs and MPPs, but what you need to do is you need them to see the catastrophe of everything that they will not be. Our society is dying, you see. And it is our responsibility as people who are capable of writing up an email and or picking up our phones that we use to doom scroll through Instagram to do something constructive with it. Earlier in this episode, we broached the topic of what mental health is like in Toronto. There is a reason for that. Toronto is the biggest city in the entire country of Canada. And if the city is a cataclysmic disaster, both on a political as well as an infrastructural level, regular old Metro Toronto police not being able to do anything about a lot of the matters that they attend to, whether it be homeless folk walking up and down Bay Street with needles sticking out of their legs, or whether it be violence right in the state of affairs, right in front of traffic, right in front of landmarks. We, as a country, need to start to man up, look our congresspeople in the eye, and yes, I'm going to continue to say that because we are very much so, pretty much American as it is. Look them in the eye. Look your member of parliament and look your member of provincial parliament in the eye and tell them it's enough. Tell them. We're not going to take it. We're not going to stand for it. There are a litany of choices that you can make as it pertains to your future. Apathy should not be one of them. Disregard for your own future should not be one of them. Band together, stand together, and fight, because it's your life. And do you really want the next 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of your life to be monotony, tedium, and complete subservience? No. So here's what you do, Canada. Over the course of this program, we are going to be discussing exactly how to take it apart bit by bit. More often than not, it will be done as an explanation, as an instruction guide, a booklet, a manual, if you will. The Conservatives have failed you. The Liberals have failed you. The New Democratic Party has failed you. The federal government and the provincial government are completely and entirely useless. Remember that for yourself, dear darlings. Remember the choices you make on a day-to-day basis. And it doesn't matter whether you choose blue or red. Just make sure you're informed about the choice that you make. Speaking about current events on the Canadian scale, I think it is important that we take a moment to acknowledge the global calamity as it pertains to not only the Israel and Iran situation, the Israel and Palestine situation, the Israel and America situation, the Israel and seemingly everybody fucking else situation. We would be remiss to completely gloss over that, especially with it completely taking over airwaves on a day-to-day basis with absolutely no break in between. And we're at a point in the timeline where even Mr. President Trump seems to be publicly outraged at Mr. BB Benjamin Netanyahu. Well, all this podcast can say, and all the cleric of chaos can say, speaking on behalf of both, is it's about goddamn time. Whether you are pro-Israel or not, the Israel that you know and the Israel that you hear about and read about on a daily basis is not the Israel that the world wants you to see. No. What we are looking at is a Zionist terrorist nation that is masquerading itself as a benevolent, beautiful dictator. Sound familiar, Western world? Sounds a little bit like how the United States of America treats all of its global counterparts, whether they be allies or not. But this particular segment isn't about America. No. A lot of you may be aware of the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk. This podcast is not, was not, will not ever be a supporter, fan, enthusiast, or a endorser of Mr. Kirk, his company Turning Point USA, or any of the ideologies that that company or that side of the political spectrum believe in or spout at all. Upon news of his assassination, within 96 hours, all of the information was there. Allegedly, a 22-year-old, furry-loving, long rifle-having gentleman was the sole perpetrator and was able to almost evade prosecution. And he would have too if it wasn't for them damn kids. That's what this whole thing is starting to sound like. It's an absolute sheer practiced, tried, true, false flag, but not to the same level as a false flag. You are aware that Erica Kirk's father is the CEO and owner of Raytheon Technologies, one of the leading Israeli weapons manufacturing companies, and that Donald Trump has a very long history with Ms. Erica Kirk, going back to the 2010s when she was in several of his pageants and when she had won at least one of them. Charlie Kirk decides to start speaking up against Israel, decides to start telling his platform and his people that maybe it's not the country that we are all conditioned to believe. Maybe this is a completely different, separate entity that we are aware of. Well, we take that into account and we understand that the situation, if a gentleman like Charlie Kirk is speaking up against the quote-unquote grain, there may be something different, right? I mean, what about his butt buddy Ben Shapiro? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Ben Shapiro, ever since Charlie Kirk's death, has been doing absolutely nothing but spouting more and more pro-Israel Zionist propaganda. Whenever he is called out, or whenever he is rightfully misdirected and asked to explain himself, he engages in whataboutism. He moves forward and tries to engage in misdirection. These people are not your saviors. These people, they are not your experts. Your Tucker Carlsons, your Alex Jones, your Marjorie Taylor Greens. All of these people are there to deceive you. They just wear different hats. And what we understand is that over the course of time, you either fall in or you fall out. And we here at the Cheating Death podcast, we fall out. We survive. We harbor zero fear, zero concern, zero suicidal thoughts whatsoever. We do not want to take our lives. We do not wish to end our lives. And it is worth noting that this type of conversation, this type of discussion on the Cheating Death podcast will continue. Everyone has a right to have a voice, whether they be Gentile, Jew, Palestine, Christian, Judeo, it does not matter. Whether you be from the south of Australia or the north of Canada, does not matter. You have a right to have your existence and your life cared for, understood, loved, respected, valued. The Palestinian people deserve to have their lives respected, valued, cherished, embraced. And this may be one hell of a decision for a debut episode. But Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be prosecuted for war crimes. All of those in whom are responsible and directly affiliated with the Zionist Israeli regime that has completely obliterated any normalcy for the regular, everyday, normal Israeli citizens, some of whom are choosing to go to prison instead of serving in the IDF. They feel that badly. It is time we as a people stand and understand that change is vital, but change only begins when we begin to care. And last but not least, our item of discussion for today in music news. Long-standing nu metal alternative industrial band Chevelle, based out of Chicago, Illinois, has released a new album on the 15th of August 2025 called Bright as Blasphemy. Now, for those of you familiar, moment you have to go on a drive, maybe head on the freeway, or if you want to go on down the information superhighway, download the album right now. Hey, we want to take a moment to thank you for listening to today's episode of the Cheating Death Podcast. And we want you to know that if you're feeling down and out, there is help for you. If you're experiencing domestic abuse, please call the National Association of Domestic Abuse Support at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. They can be reached anywhere, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you are experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988 from your mobile phone or text. If you are within the United States, please call 1-800-273-8255. Thank you for listening to today's program. You are enough. You are a beautiful human being, and you will succeed. Take care, and we love you. This podcast is a division of Chaos Realm Records, Cleric of Chaos, and Chaos Realm Deutschland. We thank you for taking the time to listen to our program today. For more information, reach out to twitter.com/weallcheatdeath or youtube.com/@weallcheatdeath. If you want to send us an email, send it on over to thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, we're pulling for you. We're all in this together.